Welcome to Devon Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with my special guest, Tammy Guns. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing here today? I'm really excited to talk to you.
You do a little bit of everything from what I see. You're in healthcare and talking about stomping out the financial illiteracy to get to our dreams, right?
Yes. So, it may seem like, well, why would I do both of those things? But actually, it makes sense because going back to my education, I have two master's degrees. One is in accounting and one is in health service administration. So since I obtained both of those degrees, I ended up marrying those concepts together throughout my career. In fact, even when I was in healthcare operations, I was always marrying those two things together because I'm very strong financially. And so I would understand things from an operational and financial perspective. And then, of course, being in healthcare. So I do use both of those concepts.
Well, that's wonderful mirroring. I mean, we have, I'm a very creative type, but I understand finances very well.
Oh, good.
So you give me numbers, I'm excited.
You're a rare individual. Most people run from numbers.
Yeah, it's ones and zeros excite me. But then again, I'm very creative I do fantasy novels. So you have both aspects, but I marry the two, having a publishing house.
That's awesome. Well, actually, and here's another example. I'll show you how I kind of marry the concepts together. So I did do a TEDx talk on why the best healthcare system starts with you. And there's an example in there that actually applies to our financial house as well as our health component of our house. So there's the example of why is it that people, when we have one body and one body only, that we don't take care of it? Imagine if we had one car and one car only, you would be hyper vigilant about taking care of it, right? Because you'd think nothing can happen to this car because it's the one and only car I have for my whole life. And so I give an example of why is it that people maybe don't participate or and act in a way that's most beneficial for their health. And so let's say that every day on your way to work, Monday through Friday, you stop off and you get a latte. And let's just say you spend $5 on it. And, usually for most people, that's a really insignificant amount of money. So they don't think much about spending that $5. And so what happens though is over a year's time, that $5 latte habit that you have ends up being about $1,300. Now, if you had to spend $1,300, I know at least for me, that's a significant amount of money. And so I would stop and I would pause before I would actually spend that kind of money. But yet we'll spend $1,300 over a year, but we just do it in $5 increments. And so we don't think about it. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of the finances, but it's the same with our health. If we don't actually measure things, we can't manage them. So we'll go throughout our day perhaps, and maybe we don't exercise or we don't, we eat too many brownies or chips or whatever. And again, I mean, those things are fun to eat, right? So it's not like you would want to go the rest of your life not eating cookies and all the fun stuff. It's just that you want to manage it. And the only way to do that is to measure it. So in reality, you can see how the finances, sometimes people will spend money, they don't realize it, like that $5 latte, but it's the same with our health. We're eating the wrong things and we don't realize it because we're not managing it.
Exactly. I mean, how many people take vitamins? How many people should be taking vitamins? We don't think about it because a vitamin, for a 30-day supply, Walmart brand is $15. So you're paying $15 a month. You get the all natural, top of the line, sold online only, you're spending $30 a month. I'm pulling numbers out of my head right now. But that $30 a month is $1. You're spending how much on your latte? How much are you spending on that candy bar every day or that bag of chips? You can't afford taking your supplements, your vitamins, things that your health needs if you focus on, I need this to get healthy versus do I need this candy bar that's fun to eat, but do I really need it?
Right. And so that's why these decisions, I believe a lot of people really live unconsciously. And so what it is it's trying to bring into the light that which is hidden. And, it's so easy for us, when you think about most people, most people just get up, same time, the alarm goes off, you get out of bed, probably on the same side of the bed every morning. You probably maybe take a shower, then you eat usually the same breakfast every morning. You probably drive, well, now it's COVID-19, but before that, you probably drive the same route every single day to work. Then you come home from work and you do the same things and then rinse, repeat. And so we end up living really unconsciously. And the only way to actually bring some of these things into the light is to make ourselves pause and take notice.
Mm-hmm.
And so pausing and take notice, that's again where I say, if you want to be the CEO of your own health, or you want to be the CEO of your own wealth, you need to start managing those things. So you start to actually measure them. Because I always say a CEO will not fly blind. The CEO wouldn't let that $5 coffee habit go on without looking at it and managing it. So again, none of this it's not hard. None of it is rocket science. It is just really slowing down and paying attention to our budgets, or even creating one. A lot of people don't even have a budget. So it's actually very manageable.
It really is. I mean, going from having a small publishing house and to a C Corp, I look at every penny. Where's that penny going? And I do this with my health as well. I mean, I work out 7 days a week.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
With my supplement, but that's my mental health time. That's my, okay, I need to pause. I need to do something for me, not for other people. So.
Absolutely. Well, there's another thing that I talk about is some of it is really managing our buckets, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, so you could have an alone time bucket, right? Because you need to maybe refill yourself. And then there's maybe if you happen to be in a relationship, say time for your partner. If you happen to have children, time, that's another bucket. There could be an exercise bucket, and then there's a work bucket. I mean, everybody's buckets are going to be a little bit different. What are the things that you value and where you want to spend your time? And so, at any given point in time, you could have maybe your work really, there's a deadline, a big project due. And so that bucket gets all of your time and all of your energy, but you don't want to have that happen over a lifetime, right? You can do that, work really, really hard on a project, but then you need a breather again. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of managing all of those buckets. So absolutely. I mean, you are the only one really who knows you the best and knows which buckets you need filled, and honestly, to honor them. I can tell you that over the last couple of years, actually, I'm better now in the last 6 months, but in the last couple of years, my buckets were way out of whack. I was flying all around the country pretty much every single week. And so, my finance bucket was doing great because I was making a lot of money, and my career bucket was doing great, but I really wasn't taking out time and saying, okay, I can't be working this hard. I wasn't taking out time for myself, like you said, to exercise. And so there's things that, again, if you don't stop and notice, you can get way out of whack.
Oh, exactly. It was November, and I realized I need to do something for myself. I'm spending 16 hours a day working for what? My health is getting bad. I'm not taking time for myself. So I'm like, okay, well, this is working out really well here, but I don't have that me time. So I started exercising, and then we got COVID. So now I'm back to working 16 hours a day because I can't leave my house. But now that everything's open, I'm going back to the gym, taking that hour a day and getting back in line.
Good for you. Well, and I'll say a lot of times too, it's a matter of moving through change and to pivot. So you brought up a good point in that, I used to actually go to the gym. I started out this year again saying, okay, my exercise is going to be at a gym lifting weights. And right, you're absolutely right. So COVID hit, and then the gyms had to close abruptly. So then I ended up pivoting. Now I go on walks. I'm fortunate. I live in Colorado. It's quite beautiful here, and we usually have pretty good weather even year round to be able to get outdoors. And so then I, even though I really, really like going to the gym and lifting weights, I had to change and say, okay, well, I still need that exercise. So how can I get it? And so now I've been going around a park around here, and I walk around a lake, and it's really good. So it's filling my alone time bucket. It's filling my exercise bucket, and it's also filling my, kind of my spiritual release bucket, because I get to just be alone with my thoughts. And so again, but I had a pivot. That wasn't something I normally was doing. I was going to the gym instead.
And there's so many people out there that mentally cannot pivot like that. We get trapped into the gym's closed, I can't go do anything, or I'm being told to stay indoors and there's nothing to do. Oh my goodness, I'm trapped with my crazy family.
But things can happen. I will tell you that when we were first actually put into lockdown here in the state of Colorado, I was living alone, but I had two daughters. One just graduated with her master's degree, and so she came and lived with me. They were still finishing up school. Actually, they were still in the middle of their college year. And then my other daughter was a junior in college, and so they both came to live with me. That was a huge change, and because I was used to living alone.
Right.
Well, what happened is, of course, that first week, okay, it was so much fun having my daughters home, and we were eating all sorts of bad things, and having a little too much wine at night, just having fun together. And yes, it was 1 week where I went off track. It's not a matter of going off track that week, but it was a matter I was able to say, okay, we can't keep going on with this. Yeah, that was a fun week, but we need to get back into some type of routine. And so, it's the same thing with an airplane. I don't know if you know this, but because I fly a lot, I've talked to a lot of pilots, and they have told me that anytime you are flying, that the airplane is actually off course 99% of the time. So you have to wonder, okay, if the airplane is off course 99% of the time, how in the world do you ever get to your destination? Well, it's because there's a constant feedback loop. And so the airplane is constantly correcting itself to make sure that it stays on course. And so I think of that analogy when, again, yeah, I had one bad week. My daughters came home. We had a lot of fun, trying to figure out what this whole thing was going on. But then I said, okay, I can't continue because now I'm going to be on a bad path. I'll gain weight and all of that kind of stuff. And so it was a matter of just course correcting. And again, keeping my eye on the target.
Yeah, it's one thing after another. You have to keep an eye on what you want in the world. You have to keep an eye on your health. Do you want good health? Do you want okay health? Do you want don't care about your health? It's all a personal struggle. I can't tell you how to be healthy. That's up to you to be healthy. A doctor can give you tools to be healthy, but it's up to you to use them.
Absolutely. It requires action. And that's the thing, is that, there's enough knowledge out there, to how to save money. And there's a lot of knowledge out there on how to be healthy, but we actually have to take action, right? So if you are sitting on your couch and you have the idea that you want to, say, maybe go to New York City, well, you can't get there by just sitting on your couch. You actually have to get up, go outside. Let's say you're going to drive. You actually have to get in your car and put it in gear. So it's not a matter of just thinking about it. It's a matter of actually taking action. And here's the other thing I really want people to know is that, none of this is about blame, because some people will say, oh, if I'm not taking care of myself, you don't want to have that blame. It's a really low energy level vibration. It's all about really mitigating your risk. Mm-hmm. So when you are, if you eat healthy, and you exercise, and you do all sorts of things for your mental well-being, whether it's yoga or whatever works for you, it doesn't guarantee you good health, but it does mitigate against the risk of poor health.
Yes,
just like when you wear a seatbelt and you were to get in an accident in the car, it doesn't guarantee you that you're not going to be injured. But when you wear that seatbelt, it does mitigate against the risk of your injury. So it's the same thing with our health. If we're actually doing the right things, again, we're mitigating our risk against poor health. And it's the same with our finances. People can save, and then sometimes they make a bad investment. It doesn't guarantee that, nothing's ever going to go wrong or something happens with the stock market or whatever. But it sure does set you up for a better place than if you weren't trying to pay attention to your financial health in the first place.
Oh, perfectly clear. I have a few baby stocks, my toys. I put like $1 or $2 in my stocks. They're pennies, but at the same time, it's helping me try to navigate. Okay, I want a better solution or better future. So I'm going to see where the stocks go with these baby stocks before I jump in with $100, or, I'm not going to go, okay, here's all my money, let's do this, and then lose it all. I'm going to test the water first, because we have to test when we're doing something new. You don't just jump. And then build from there.
Well, and you can mitigate your risk by doing, having more of a balanced portfolio. So when I work with my clients, I like to find out, of course, I could never recommend anything to them without first knowing about them. So, what is their time horizon for investing? What is their liquidity need? Some people would say, well, I can't have too much money tied up because, I'm going to buy a house and I need a down payment, or I've got a child going off to college in the fall, so I need a chunk of change. And so you have to look at, everybody's going to be very, very different based on their own individual situations. And so, but you can get to a balanced concept of investing, which is what I love to help people with, because you don't have to be, putting things in something that's too risky for what you're comfortable with. So, but again, it's just a matter of paying attention to it. Instead of living the life that a lot of people do, like I used that example before, kind of getting up, going through our day, and then all of a sudden it's, rinse, repeat. So unless we pause to take notice of something, nothing's going to change.
Exactly. I love the ones that will sit on the couch, complain because they're in a dead-end job, they don't have money, they don't have their health, they eat potato chips from the time they sit down till the time they go to bed, watch the drama that we call news, complain about the news, get mad about the news, go get more depressed because of the job, and there's just a cycle. They're not doing anything to break that cycle.
Absolutely right. So you have to do something to change that. And you're right. It's so, some people just sometimes can't see that there is a way out. What I say is you can only really be a victim in the short run, not the long run. And what do I mean by that? Like, say you're in a really bad relationship. In fact, you live with this person. And so now you're depending on them to help pay the mortgage or help pay the rent. And, like you said, you don't like your job. Maybe you don't like your boss. Well, the thing is you can start to take steps to say, I need this to change, even if it takes time. So maybe in order to get a different job, maybe you need an associate's degree, or you need some additional training or skills. Well, then, figure that out. Maybe take some online classes. In fact, COVID-19 has made online education a lot more accessible. So there's things you can do. Maybe it would take you 6 months, a year, 2 years to be able to pivot in a job, or to pivot in your career. Or, again, maybe, realistically, some people can say, I can't go live under a bridge right now. I really do need the financial support of this relationship, even though this relationship is not in my best interest. So, but you can start to take steps to get out of it. Now, and I'm not saying stay in an abusive situation. Get out immediately, obviously, if your safety is an issue. What I'm talking about is when it's not serving your highest and best good, and you have time to be able to change and to do things. So if you're still complaining 5 years from now that you don't like your job, and you're still in that same miserable relationship, well, that's on you, right? So but yes, people can, quote unquote, be a victim in the short run, because you can find yourself in a situation you don't like, but it may take time to make a change.
Exactly. We have so many resources out there now, especially since COVID-19, to elevate ourselves. We have the stay-at-home jobs now that weren't available, or at least not available on the scale that they are now. We have things that are accessible, the education. We have edx.com is free for education. If you want the certificate, you have to pay for it. But if you want the knowledge itself, it's there.
Right. There's certainly a silver lining, COVID-19. Obviously, it's really sad. Some people have been, impacted by, through illness of somebody they love or themselves. And, so in job loss. So definitely, some real hardships that have happened because of COVID-19. But there's always a silver lining to things. And like you said, is that there's ways to change, or to now things are brought into the light that were hidden. I cannot tell you a lot of people that I, initiated conversations with in the past about, hey, I'm more than happy to do a financial checkup with you. It's just get a second opinion. Once you get a second opinion before you had surgery, and a lot of, no, I'm good. No problem. I'm doing great. And then all of a sudden COVID-19 hits and they aren't doing great. They didn't have that emergency fund set up. A lot of people just think, well, there's tons of jobs available. We had a robust economy. Even if they figured they lost their job, they could easily find another one. Well, that wasn't the case. And so a lot of people were 2 paychecks away from disaster, right? They were waiting for the government to bail them out because they themselves were not properly set up to take care of themselves. And for me, it's all about, when I talk to my clients, I really want people to take the power back with themselves instead of giving their power away to, please government send me a check, or giving their power away, to some job. If you take the power back with your health, and you take the power back with your wealth, when hardships hit, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, then you can get yourselves positioned to be able to, better move through that change.
That's 100% correct. I have a friend, COVID-19 hit. He was like, he owns a corporation. He's like, I'm not firing anyone. I'm hiring 500 positions.
Wow.
And I'm going to have them trained by the time this is done. And the ones that train and do good are going to be kept. And the ones that don't, well, this isn't meant for them. So he expanded his business during COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
He's
yes.
like,
mm-hmm.
This is not the time to withdraw and contract. This is the time to expand.
Right. And so, there's always opportunities. You just have to be able to see it. And again, it's being able to change, because sometimes I really believe that we self-sabotage and that we are our own worst enemy. I really do. I think there's a lot of times that we just need to get out of our own way. And so, that's why, like I said, I really love to help people. I love to help people with their finances, especially, so that they, because it is linked to health, right? Social economic class, there's actually a correlation between social economic class and health. And some of it's just because of, just understanding the proper things to do, or, making sure that we're not just looking at our physical health, but our mental well-being and things like that. And of course, the finances are definitely connected, because unfortunately, there's going to be, increased anxiety and depression now because of people who have lost their jobs and who did not have an emergency fund to help themselves.
And I think that's part of what we're seeing right now. If you looked in the news, it's a lot of anger, frustration, and depression because they lost their job. They're acting out because they don't have their job. But at the same time, we cannot be taking jobs away from other people.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen. But again, anything that people can do to take the power back themselves and to position themselves, because again, I really believe you can only be a victim in the short run, because believe me, a lot of really bad things happen to good people. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, don't stay in it, because, sometimes something can happen to you once, but when you continue to do, ruminate on it, then it's almost as though you're recreating that. So.
Very true. You cannot live for today while you're living in the past.
Correct. Yes. Well stated. Very well stated.
We have to learn from the past. We cannot sweep it under the rug, but we cannot live in the past to move forward. We have to move forward and learn from our past.
Absolutely. Yes.
So where can our listeners and our viewers find you?
Well, actually, so I'm more than happy to give out my business email and my business phone number. So my business email is truly my name. It's tammylynnguns@gmail.com, which is just TAMMYLYNNGUNS@gmail.com. And then my business phone number is 303-301-4231.
Now, if I'm reading what I'm looking at, you also have a few books out?
I do have a few books out. And my one book can be found on Amazon. And it is, I have a copy of it. It's Your Ultimate Daily Guide for Success. And that's found on Amazon. but anyone of your listeners who either calls me or sends an email and they would like to get a free book, it's not a book that I authored, but it's a really good book that I give to all of my clients and actually just, just to people, because I really do want to help stamp out financial illiteracy. And it's a book called How Money Works. And let me tell you something, this is a brilliantly written book, which is why I use it. It only takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to read it, right? Who wants to go through some really thick financial book? Most people would never even open that up. And this book is such an easy read, and it really gives great advice and education to help people to help stamp out financial illiteracy. Certainly it's just, a component. It goes over some simple money concepts that people don't know about, things that are not taught in school. And so I'm more than happy to mail a copy to any of your listeners who, like I said, just gets in contact with me.
That would be awesome, because we have so many people out there right now that needs help with their finances because we're not teaching finances in school. We're
Absolutely.
teaching ones and zeros and how to add them up, but we're not teaching what those ones and zeros mean.
Right. And there's some very simple money concepts that people don't know about. And if they knew, they would think really twice about spending $5 on that latte. They would rather put it into savings.
Yeah, I'm so thankful. I have homeschooled my daughter partly, so she's learned the economics and she's very frugal with money. But at the same time, we go to, say, McDonald's or Walmart, give people a $5 bill and they don't know how to make change.
Yeah. When I was, I'm a lot older. I'm not a baby boomer. I'm a Generation X. But yeah, when I was younger, I actually worked at McDonald's in high school, and we had to make change. The machine didn't do it for us. So, I mean, but it's with anything, honestly. The more that, now we're in a credit card society, people are credit or debit, people so they're not using cash as much. So it's a little bit harder for people to, think of change. So.
Yeah. I when I was working at McDonald's, our credit card machine went down a few times. We have to pay cash only. And everyone's like freaking out because no one knows how to make change. I'm like, seriously, are they not teaching this in school? I feel like an old mom teaching the kids how to make change. I'm like, oh, help me.
Yeah, but it's like any school or skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, it really is true, because that's how our brains are wired. Our brains have these neural pathways. And so when you keep doing something that's called using it, right, then you almost get these ruts, like driving down an old dirt road. Pretty soon there's ruts in the road. But if you stop that, then those neural connections will actually fade away. So that's not that surprising.
So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, this has been fun. And again, anyone out there, we all need a little bit of financial advice. Get a hold of Tammy. We'll set something up. I mean, seriously, we need to move forward with our finances like we do in our house.